Bystials represent the latest and greatest in a long line of support for sort of generic light and dark based strategies, particularly those employing dragons, but one that we haven't talked about thus far is Dragonmaids. Now, this is a deck that hasn't really seen the light of day in quite some time, and it used to be one of the best budget options for Master Duel as a whole, and with this new updated build, it remains so. Utilizing the new Bystial cards, going for a all-out Bystial sort of control strategy backed up with the power of your Dragonmaids, you can actually make quite an affordable and decent splashable sort of Dragonmaid Bystial deck, right? The most expensive part is of course acquiring the Bystial cards, but if you have them and you're looking for ways in which to use these cards, this is definitely going to be one of the more affordable options, and it is surprisingly effective. It works along the basis of course, your Bystials wanting to banish your opponent's graveyard, interrupt their plays, put up a load of big bodies on board. But this particular version of the deck also employs the use of Dragonmaid Changeover and Tidying, which can allow you to fusion summon into powerful monsters such as the Xiao or the Furious Dragon. And Dragonmaid Tidying not only allowing you to bounce your opponent's cards back to hand, but also to recycle your Bystial's effects. This will basically bounce one of your dragons back and one of their cards, as well as acting as an extender later on in the graveyard. So that's the sort of basic strategy. The Parlor and the Chamber Dragonmaid are basically here to facilitate that, but it is for the most part centered around the Bystial cards, with the Dragonmaids chiming in to back them up, also giving them access to a few pretty neat extra deck options. We're going to go through a few replays that we got saved up. This isn't like the strongest way of playing Bystials or anything like that, but it's definitely a very affordable way, and it's a very different sort of speed, right? Sometimes you want to just take a deck, it's not 1,000,001 combos, it's super simple, you're just like playing your cards. That's what this deck is, so it's an excellent introduction in general to the Bystial cards as well. So one side of the offer, if you have Dragonmaids and you're curious about Bystials, or you have Bystials and you're curious about Dragonmaids, this is the deck for you. We have some replays, and we'll be doing a card for card profile at the end of the video. So if you're interested in this style of thing, as I always say, like the video because it does help me out an awful lot, helps put the video out there, and we're really trying to grow this channel as much as we can. And if you haven't subscribed already, but you've happened across the video, do me a favor, subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, and you get to see more videos like this in the future, as well as anything else that we're doing. And leave below what you want me to do in the future, even outside of the likes of Yu-Gi-Oh, because I don't really want to be this one-trick pony. I love Yu-Gi-Oh, I love Yu-Gi-Oh Master Duel. I could talk about this game for days at a time, but we do want to mix things up a little bit. So if you've got any ideas or suggestions, leave them below. Discords are below. Let's get into game one. Alrighty, getting into game number one here. This one is basically just going to be to try and show off the deck a little bit. We're going to go Bystial Lubellion, grabbing our Magnomet. We're going to normal summon the Chambermaid here, grabbing the Dragonmaid Changeover. We're going to activate Changeover, fusing the two dragons in our hand to go into Shio. That of course is going to trigger the Bystial Lubellion to send Branded Regain to the graveyard. Now we had a couple of options for what we could do here. We could either have gone into the Borreload Furious Dragon, or in this case what we opt to do instead is we go into Magnomet. Magnomet's going to search for another Bystial. Changeover adds itself back to hand by sending Chamber back, and we could tribute off our Magnomet for the Bystial Lubellion. Now this card is not once per turn, so if we either A, had another Dark Dragon, or B, if we had have really wanted to, we could have gone into the Furious Dragon instead. I don't think that's particularly the best of plays, but it is something that we could have done. But we're basically just going to set up the Branded Beast, set the Branded Regain. We've got the Tidying, we've got the Drissworm, and we're pretty solid here. So we've got a decent amount of interruption here. During the standby phase, we're going to try and summon back Parlor from our graveyard. He goes Forbidden Droplet, but doesn't actually drop any monsters, so we can just negate it, I guess. Because I would like to get this back, and this is a pretty interesting interaction here. Because we negated that, we summon the Chamber from hand, Chamber searches. Now it's still in the standby phase, so House then will summon the Parlor back from the graveyard. Parlor will then mill a Lore Power for next turn. They're going to go for Plunder Patrol shipping, and to go into the Patrol Ship Lease. They're going to equip on some cards here. We are going to go for our Branded Regain to bring back our Magnomet, and this is a pretty interesting interaction here. This is why this is so cool. So Branded Regain, special summoning back the Magnomet. Of course he is going to search, but more importantly, now we can use Dragonmaid Tidying to return Magnomet back to hand, and then he still can be summoned from the hand, giving us additional graveyard interruption. That's not particularly relevant in this matchup, but it is definitely something worth bearing in mind. We are going to go Magnomet to search during the end phase. Going to equip another card onto his Lace here. He does get the pot upgrade off the tactics because of our Magnomet. He's going to activate Lace. Now we're going to go for Tidying. He can only negate monster effects, so Tidying, being a trap card, offers us a little bit more versatility. Send it back, and that's pretty much game. So there you go. That shows off a few of the interactions that I wanted to sort of talk about. Pretty decent showing for game 1. Let's get into game 2. Alrighty, getting into match 2 here. Again, fairly decent hand. We're going to go Lubellion, dropping it to grab ourselves a Saronir here. We choose to go Saronir because Dragonmaid would have searched for Changeover, and then we would have been able to fusion summon here. So again, it is pretty important that we resolve this play. We are going to hit that with the Ash Blossom with Call by the Grave. Traumatized after our last stream there with the amount of Maxi that we saw. So Dragonmaid is going to grab us our Changeover. We're going to fusion summon with the Changeover, fusing away our Saronir and our Chamber to bring out the Shio. That's pretty solid. We still have the Baldric in hand, and we're also going to mill a branded Befallen, which is a solid card. We're going to tribute that off for our Lubellion. Lubellion then, of course, is going to try and set up our Branded Beast directly from the deck. Branded Befallen is a little bit different from Regained in that it gives us access to, basically, he can no longer respond to our Bystial cards. He is going to go Call by the Grave in response to Shio to banish the Chamber and Grave. To be perfectly honest, that is absolutely fine. It's not worth our Omni Negate. I would rather hold on to it, considering there's only got 4 cards left in hand. He goes Regained, then he goes Branded Opening, summoning out the Aliber, get Surging. We're going to flip up our Imperm to stop that, because at the end of the day, my logic here is that they either already have Branded Fusion, in which case I might as well just save my negate for it, or he is going to search his deck for Branded Lost, which is essentially going to render our Infinite Impermanence useless. So by negating the Aliber, we're removing that as a possibility. Branded Lost would be pretty annoying because that means the Imperm would no longer be useful. We're going to go Branded Beast, tributing off Lubellion, popping the Branded Regain so we can't get any ideas. He was just going to end his turn there because he didn't have any more plays. And there you go, it's as solid as that, even taking down the likes of Branded Despia. Pretty good. Let's get into game 3. Of course, not every game can go exactly according to plan, and this is going to show that off a little bit. We're going to go Parlor here. We were playing a slightly different version of the deck at this stage. We were playing the likes of Hospitality, and I think Super Poly. Yeah, we decided to take those out because they just weren't effective. This is one of our earlier games. They're going to hit our Parlor with Gamma, which is pretty interesting. We decided we're going to go Hospitality here. Hospitality would have summoned back the Parlor and sent a lower power, but he is not going to allow that, hitting that with an Ash Blossom. And that's totally fine, to be honest. Again, we are passing here, but we've taken 2 cards out of his hand, and our opponent now has to face down 2 Bystial cards. They're going to drop an Absoluter to grab the Bystial Lubellion. That is a phenomenal play for our opponent there in terms of raw value. They're going to grab Tracer from the deck and add it to their hand. They're now going to go Bystial Lubellion, discarding it to grab themselves the Bystial Magnomet from the deck. They're going to go Chaos Space here, banishing the Chaos Space to shuffle back the Gamma that they banished earlier to draw 1. They're going to go Tracer. We're going to go Drissworm, banishing the Lubellion. And now they're going Magnamut. They're going to try and banish the Absoluter to summon their Magnamut. I'm not going to allow that, and instead we're going to use our Saronir, banishing their Absoluter before his Magnamut can resolve. He's going to link 1 off into the Striker Dragon. Striker Dragon then searches the deck for Boot Sector Launch. Boot Sector Launch being a pretty powerful card here, but Quick Launch is even more powerful, summoning out the Tracer directly from the deck before he can go into Romulus. Romulus searching his deck for Dragon Ravine, giving him access to basically any dragon he wants from the deck. Gonna discard a card to send a dragon from the deck to grave. Gonna send Saronir. Saronir activates the mill of the Branded Regained. Gonna activate Boot Sector Launch. Boot Sector Launch. Then going to summon out the Recharger from hand, allowing him to go into Seals. And he's going to pass on Seals. Passing on Seals is fine. It's interesting. We're just gonna go straight to battle though. In battle, tributes off to grab himself to return our Drissworm. We're going to Ash that Heavenly Spheres, and instead of going for like the Drissworm to get a bunch of extra damage in, we're actually going to hold on to the Drissworm for now and hopefully use it as an interruption during our opponent's turn, right? Being able to shut down these seals off of the Ash Blossom is pretty valuable. He is going to be able to bring back a Tracer here, popping the field spell, summoning out the Rocket Caliber, going into another copy of Striker Dragon, using its effect to pop itself to basically grab back the Recharger. We're going to banish the Recharger from the graveyard, which will prevent the resurrection of the card, but it does not prevent the destruction of his Striker Dragon. He is going to draw one off of Maxi here, but that's totally fine. Striker Dragon get popping, but no value being generated. Going into the Collapse Serpent before Synchro summoning off into the Chaos Ruler. Chaos Ruler then milling 5 off the top of the deck after checking them for lighter dark cards. Collapse Serpent activating Chain Link 2 to grab the White Dragon Wyvern Burster directly from the deck first of all. Gonna check the top 5 of his deck here. There's Maxi, Ash Blossom, Cyframe, Gamma, Seifert, and Seifert. Now Seifert's a very, very good add off of this. I don't know if he's used his normal summon yet this turn. He had not, but now he has. Seifert sending the Chaos Ruler to grab Lubellion, which is a pretty cool piece of interaction you don't see very often. Dropping Lubellion, grabbing the Saronir. Saronir now revealing to banish the Gamma, summon itself to the field, tributing off with the Lubellion in the graveyard, of course. Summoning in attack position here. Saronir going to mill the Drissworm directly from the deck. Lubellion setting up the Branded Beast. Chaos Ruler banishing 2 from grave to summon itself back to the field as a 3k beater. Going into the battle phase, taking out the Drissworm. Drissworm then, of course, is going to activate in the graveyard, sending Lubellion to the grave. He no longer controls a Bystial card, meaning his Branded Beast is no longer live. He is going to banish the Seifert from the graveyard, targeting Lubellion, adding it back to his hand. But he can't do much else with it here. Branded Beast activating the Branded Regained back from the graveyard. He, of course, has Drissworm and Saronir in the grave, as well as Magnama. We need to be pretty careful around this Branded Regained. Into the battle phase, taking out the Masquerena. We do have the Baldrake, but it's a little bit risky for us to make any additional movements right now, so we do need to be aware of that. He's going to go for Lubellion here. Lubellion dropping itself to grave, grabbing another copy of Saronir. Saronir, of course, being pretty powerful. Chaos Beast dropping the Saronir to search for the White Dragon Wyvern Burster. Saronir then will not get milling. No, he's nothing left to send. Gonna banish Chaos Space, return Striker, gonna banish Collapse Serpent for the White Dragon Wyvern Burster, targeting the Black Dragon, returning it back to draw 1, going quick launch. No way, he still has a Rocket left and a 10 card deck, but he does. He's going into the Savage Dragon now. Savage Dragon equipping from the graveyard a Link monster to gain Boral counters equal to that monster's Link rating, as well as half of its original attack points. Collapse Serpent, 2 hand from deck. Gonna equip on, gaining 400 attack points and 2 counters, summoning out the Black Dragon Collapse Serpent here. Taking out Saronir. Saronir get milling. He's going to swing with the Borreload Savage Dragon. We're going to banish the Drissworm to basically summon out our Baldrake. We were kind of hoping he would negate that, but you know, it is what it is at the end of the day. He swings in, does as much damage as he possibly can before linking off into the Dark Charmer Gloomy. Gloomy's going to grab the Baldrake from our graveyard as an extra interruption for our opponent. So it's looking kind of rough. Top decking into Maxi pretty much seals our fate there. Ideally, we could have drawn into anything that could have been negated, but realistically, even evenly matched was not going to be enough to save us there. There you go. Sometimes it just be like that. Let's get into the deck profile. Alrighty. So, Bystial Dragonmaid it's pretty straightforward. It has quite a lot of room for hand traps, which is another one of its strengths. You could see, like, through the gameplay, we were sort of cycling between a couple of different hand trap combinations. We ended up settling on something quite straightforward and quite versatile. We, of course, have the triple Maxi, the triple Ash Blossom, we have triple Infinite Impermanence, we have double Cult Buy, we have no Crossout in this particular version. We just didn't really see too much value in it. There is, however, double Evenly Matched there. We also have double Chaos Space. Now, Chaos Space was super poly. I just couldn't think of anything I wanted in this slot. I sort of knew I wanted another starter card, which is why we went Chaos Space, but this card is purely optional. I just wanted more consistent access to my Lubellion because it generates a lot of value. But this is sort of the actual, like, deck, so it is right here. Those remaining 13 spots, even, to be honest, even more than that, if you want to cut this guy out as well as the Befallen, you've got a ton of room to customize this to your liking. You can either include more engine cards, you can include a bunch of different hand traps, you can put a bunch of board breakers in, whatever suits you. That last 13 slots plus is entirely yours to play around with. In terms of main deck Dragonmaid cards, we've got Parlor and Chamber, which are both basically normal summons. They will grab you access to cards from deck. Parlor was going to send a Dragonmaid card from deck to graveyard. and Chamber Dragonmaid is going to search one from deck to hand. Now, both of those effects are valuable because each of your Dragonmaid spells and traps have effects in the graveyard. Changeover, of course, is your fusion spell. You're going to use this card to fusion summon into your Xiao or your Furious Dragon by using whatever monsters you need. It can also add itself back to your hand from the graveyard by targeting a Dragonmaid on your field and returning it to hand as well. So if you summon the Parlor, sometimes you'll send the Changeover, then you'll add Changeover back to hand from the grave by returning the Parlor. Whereas Chamber can just outright search for it. We've also got Tidying. Tidying can basically target a dragon you control and any cards your opponent controls, bounce both back to hand, so that's pretty valuable in recycling your Bystials as well as just being general sort of spot removal. It can also banish itself from the graveyard to special summon a Dragonmaid monster from your hand or grave in defense, but it gets returned to the hand during the end phase. Again, just a way of extending even further should you need to, and capable of being sent to the grave off of Parlor as well, just for the sort of instant extension if you need it. It's a handy way for going into things like seals, but you're typically not going to be like this deck is not designed to go nuts, right? That's not the intention. The deck is sort of designed to sit back, chill, and control. But the triple Tidying is very good for that as well. In terms of Bystial cards, we're playing literally as many of the main deck monsters as we can. We got a single Magnomet, triple Saronir, single Drissworm, a single Baldric. For anyone who doesn't know by now, again, you must not be watching my videos because I've been talking about these guys a lot recently. They will all special summon themselves to the field as a quick effect by banishing a light or dark monster in either player's graveyard. So they basically disrupt the graveyard as well as special summoning themselves. They all also have additional effects. Drissworm at the end of the turn where it's special summon will search your deck for a dragon monster. Saronir when sent to the graveyard will mill a Bystial or branded spell or trap card. The Drissworm will, when sent from the field to the graveyard, send a special summon monster from your opponent's field to the graveyard as well, giving it an extra layer of interruption. And Baldric, if your opponent special summons a monster from the extra deck, a Ritual Fusion, Synchro Exceed, or Link monster, which is just a mouthful. If they summon any of those, you contribute a different light or dark monster to banish one of those cards. We have 3 copies of the Bystial Lubellion. Again, I know that this guy's a UR. If you really don't want to run 3 of him, you can cut it down slightly, but I would run as many copies of this guy as you have. We've got, so basically he can send himself from the hand to the graveyard to grab any of your Bystials to hand. You can special summon him from the hand or graveyard by tributing a level 6 or higher dark dragon monster, which is any of your Bystials. And once per turn during your main phase, you can grab any branded continuous spell or trap and place it face up on your field, which is almost always going to be your branded beast. So Lubellion is sort of like, it's a way to search for a card, it's a big extender, it's a big sort of setter up of interruption. So yeah, pretty awesome card. We have, on the topic of our Bystials, we'll talk about our branded cards. We've got Branded Regained, Branded Beast, as well as Branded Befallen. Branded Regained, whenever a light or dark monster is banished, you can target one of those cards, put it back in the deck, and then you can draw one, whether it's yours or your opponent's, it doesn't matter. Once per turn when your opponent normal or special summons a monster, you can grab a Bystial from your graveyard and special summon it straight to the field. Really good for keeping yourself in a busy game, as well as ensuring you have a Bystial on board to resolve your Branded Beast, which we'll talk about next. During the main phase, if you control a Bystial, tribute a dragon, target a card your opponent controls, and pop it. Once per turn spot removal, really solid. During the end phase, you can also grab another branded continuous spell or trap card and place it face up onto your field. So that's why we don't mind playing something like Befallen or Regained, because we can mill these cards from the deck off of our Saronir, and then Branded Beast can put them face up onto our field at the end of the turn. So pretty solid in that regard. We've got Branded Befallen here. Branded Befallen basically says that if your opponent activates a card or effect that either targets a Bystial or in response to a Bystial, you can banish a light or dark from either graveyard to negate that activated effect. It basically just stops them from negating your Bystials, as well as granting you additional banishments. And last card in the main deck then, sorry, I didn't mention Lore Power. This is literally just here for its name and level. It's really, we're not going to talk about Lore Power too much. It's just here to put a big dragon and grave off of like Parlor. But the last card I wanted to talk about was Chaos Space. Chaos Space will basically allow you to drop a dark monster to search your deck for the Bystial Lubellion. So you can drop either Chamber or any of your Bystials to search your deck for Lubellion. It's just extra copies of Lebellion, basically. That's the idea. You can also banish it from your graveyard to target a banished light or dark monster that cannot be normal summoned or set, like an extra deck monster or Lebellion himself. Shuffle it back into the deck to draw 1. So Chaos Base is pretty solid. It's not necessary. You can definitely take it out if you have something else you want to play in that slot, but it is a pretty neat way of getting into your Lebellion. That's the whole main deck. Again, the main deck really isn't all that complicated. I'm going to bring up all the hand traps again. It really isn't that complex. Then all of the remaining spots, they're just hand traps. Just hand trap city, go nuts. Play whatever you want. Into the extra deck, Borreload Furious Dragon. This was here because sometimes we would be left in a position where we really wanted a second fusion monster. And this was like the best candidate. Plus, look at this card, right? I've been wanting an excuse to play this card. More than anything else, so you can't stop me. I'm playing it. We've got 2 House and 2 Shio. So Shio, basically, you need both. Shio is the main one you're actually going to fusion summon. This guy can shuffle itself back into your return itself back to the extra deck to negate the activation of any card effect, and then you special summon the House Dragonmaid from your extra deck in its place. That's the interaction. Both of these cards have effects in the standby phase. The Shio will target any level 9 or lower Dragonmaid from your graveyard or hand and special summon it, whereas the House Dragonmaid will target any other Dragonmaid you control to special summon another Dragonmaid from your hand or grave whose level is 1 higher or lower. So, of course, Shio is overall more powerful in pretty much every way. House is really only here because Shio's effect mandates it. You need to have at least 1 copy of House. You realistically should have at least 2 though, because you can recycle this card over and over, right? You don't even need to play more than 1 of this card. We only do because, like, in case they destroy it or something. But realistically, you could play 1 of this and then play just a bunch of House Dragonmaids to keep it coming back. Exceed, some people play more Exceeds than what I do. I think just Atum and Wallow are fine. Atum will basically let you special summon any dragon from your deck, but its attack and defense becomes 0. I mean, it's just an easy way of getting into like a chamber or something like that if you need it, but Atum, you're not going to be using it a ton. It's fine. Wallow will basically boost your entire field by 100 attack and defense for every card in your opponent's graveyard. You can also, as a quick effect, activate its effect to remove 1 or 2 materials. If you remove 1 material, you can return a card in your opponent's graveyard back to the deck. If you detach 2 materials, you can take that card and either summon it to your field if it's a monster, or set it to your field if it isn't. So you can steal a card from their graveyard, or you can just shuffle a card back. Link monsters. We have Striker Dragon. Striker Dragon mainly just here as a utility tool if you want to put any of your Dragonmaids in grave for whatever reason. It's not too valuable in this version. It was mainly here for in earlier iterations of the deck when we were playing the Black Metal Dragon, which may be something that a few of you want to try out. The Black Metal Dragon's pretty cool. Since we've taken that out, we haven't really used the Striker Dragon, but at the same time, we haven't been using our extra deck enough for me to think too much about what to replace it with. So I guess this is technically a flex spot. It's up to you. Hieratic Seal of the Heavenly Spheres. This guy's pretty awesome. Basically, summon it with any 2 dragons. Once per opponent's turn, you can tribute this card from the extra monster zone to return a card from your opponent's field back to the hand. Technically, you can tribute any monster, but you're going to tribute this. And if this card is tributed, you can special summon any dragon from your deck, but you make its attack and defense 0. So that is a really good way of getting access to your Magnomet or your Drissworm, or really any of your Bystials are really good summon targets off of this guy, but primarily Magnomet and Drissworm. And then also you can factor in how useful these guys are in summon as well, where you can pitch a card from the deck to the graveyard, you can pitch like a Tidying for some extension. Whatever it is you need to do, the Hieratic Seals will make life an awful lot easier on you while also giving you some interruption. IP, because it's a generic link card, pretty straightforward stuff. Dark, again, generic link card, not really much to talk about. Unicorn, generic link. Avramax, generic, and all of these are just generic link monsters, right? Avramax and Underworld Goddess. I'm not going to talk about these because literally these could be anything. This is just the link package that I decided to go with. If you want to play more Exceeds, you want to play like a certain package, knock yourself out. These guys are purely here for if, buts, and whens. They're not core to the deck. You can change them however much you want. So that's it. Again, deck's really straightforward. There's not really much else to talk about. It's definitely not like the best deck out there, of course, right? It's not even the best way to play Bystials. I feel like it is if I could speak English, it's a pretty decent improvement over the traditional Dragonmaid strategy. I feel like if you're a fan of Dragonmaids and you want to find a new way of playing them, this is definitely going to be a way of doing it. Or maybe you've got the Bystials, but you just don't want to play Dragonlink, or you don't want to play Branded. This is another sort of option you could do to play around with and have some fun. All in all, it was able to take some wins in Master. I don't think it's getting you to Master 1 or anything like that, but it is definitely more than good enough to compete. So if you've got this far and you're interested in more videos like this, of course, like this video and subscribe to see more as they're coming out. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye.